Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Tom Pollock here, and I am going to cook a meal for dinner. For my dinner meal that I'm going to be cooking tonight, so I have some kidney beans and they're low sodium. Most everything I got is low sodium because you can just add your own salt to taste. I have 2 cans of diced tomatoes. I have some vegetable broth. I have some spices, cumin, paprika, thyme, and oregano. These are both dried. I think they probably work better dried than fresh. I have some hot sauce. It's very hot, so only a drop or 2. Some scallions. This is some vegetarian or vegan sausage. Some long grain brown rice. Very large Spanish onion. Some garlic. 4 stalks of celery. It called for 2 bell peppers, so I got 1 huge green one. I'll probably only use about half of it. A poblano for some extra taste, and then a jalapeno. All of these have been washed thoroughly. Okay, so I'm gonna dice up pretty much all of this. I'm probably only gonna use 1/2 of this pepper. All my scraps I'll be throwing in this. All the vegetable scraps recently I have been saving in the freezer so I can use them to create my own vegetable stock at some point, so I don't have to keep buying it at the store. So I'm gonna get chopping. I believe you should always cut with the skin side down on the peppers, because if you cut this way with a knife that's not all that sharp, it will slide against the skin. So if you flip it this way, there's nothing for it really to catch and slide off of. So I'm just gonna cut these into bite-sized pieces. I'm not gonna completely de-seed the jalapeno, but if you you can even hear it. If you go like that between your fingers, that kind of loosens up the seeds inside, and I don't want this to be too hot since I'm adding my hot sauce, so I'm gonna do that. Slice off the top and not waste too much. I'm gonna empty out the seeds. And I'm cutting these a little bit smaller. I know everything's gonna cut down, but I don't wanna get a huge bite of jalapeno. Okay, I'm gonna keep chopping. I have 4 sticks of celery here that I gotta do. I'm gonna take off the white part and just some of the hair at the top. As I said, I'm gonna throw the scraps into my big bucket just so I can save them. I could use these. Time for the onion. This is where I'm probably gonna embarrass myself, but. So I do want to keep the root intact, that's this end. That'll make this easy because I'm just gonna do a simple dice. So instead of going straight down and doing slices like this, I'm gonna try to angle them. I believe this makes them more even and lessens the waste of the core at the top, or makes it easier. I'm gonna come in, and this is a big onion, so I'm gonna do a couple of these type of slices. It may seem like a lot of work, but this will make it a lot easier. So then I'm just chopping, gonna claw grip so I don't cut my fingers. And that's about as fine as I need them. There's some random kind of darker bits in here that I'll throw out, but I'm happy with that. I'm just gonna put these in the bucket and do the other onion. I'm just using this. So let's try this again. I'm gonna come down at an angle here, and I think when I'm gonna get to the top, I go straight down and then start angling the other way. If you are crying when you're cutting your onions, your knife probably isn't sharp enough, and I'm not gonna act like I know how to sharpen a knife, so I am crying. So I have some garlic here. I still need to chop, and the recipe would say to throw it in with the rest of the vegetables, but I don't agree with that. So I am going to put a good amount of oil in the pan. It has been heating, and that's why you're seeing it separate, and it's already not quite smoking, but it moves around very quick. So I'm gonna add all of my vegetables here and saute for about 4 minutes, and then while that's happening, I will chop the garlic and then throw that in the last minute of cooking. Okay, so it's kind of dark. I don't know if I can get this to focus. There we go. The cutting board looks kind of gross, but it's just old. So I have 5 cloves of garlic. That stuff is sauteing. It's been about a minute now. I want it to go about 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'll add this in, because if this cooked with all that, I don't think it would burn, but I don't want to risk it. I don't think you ever really want color on your garlic unless you have a specific recipe in mind. It's just got that bitter taste. So I'm just gonna smush these and then chop them up. Okay, so this has been going like 4 minutes. I added a pinch of salt just to get the water to come out of the onions, which as you can see is just starting to cook off in the bottom of the pan. So these are going to start to caramelize if I leave them in for too much longer. So I'm going to add the garlic now, which is finely chopped kinda. I'm gonna have to put you down. Okay, so the garlic is added in. I'm gonna stir this and let this cook for about another 1.5 minutes, and then I will go to the next step, which is basically add the rest of everything in, which is the rice, the tomatoes, the broth, and the spices. Okay, so the garlic's been cooking for maybe 2 minutes, so everything's really starting to get soft, and as you can hear, it's loud in there. A lot of the moisture has cooked off. Ooh, getting some steam. So I'm gonna add in, it says to add everything at once. I'm gonna add in the spices, which is basically a mixture of cumin, oregano, paprika, thyme, black pepper, and there's no salt just because there's gonna be a lot of salt when I add the vegetable broth and the kidney beans. So I'm just gonna add these in, and I want this to toast for a little bit in the fat, the olive oil, and kind of mix in before I throw everything in there. So I'm gonna get this going, and this is when it starts to smell really good. I'm gonna add in, this is just diced tomatoes. I'm gonna add it with the juices, so I don't have to, I'll rinse that out and get the extra out of there. I just wanna add it with the juices. I'm trying to cut back on how much stock I have to put in here, just because I'd like to save some. So tomatoes in, I rinsed them just with a little bit of water to get everything out of there. Stir this a little bit to make sure everything stops frying and it gets into that kind of stewing type phase. For 4 cups of rice, so basically this whole bag. So I'm gonna add this rice. I can't do this with 2 hands, so I'll be back in a second. At this point, I realized that this recipe serves 6 to 8 and I've doubled it. I don't know why. So there's a lot of rice. This thing's starting to get pretty full. I'm gonna add 32 ounces of vegetable broth, which is 4 cups. It calls for 8 cups total, so I'm gonna do 6 cups total. And if I need more broth, I'll add it in, but I think using the liquid from the tomatoes, and then I'll, if I need to, add more in when I add the kidney beans. So I will add the broth and be right back. So I've added all the broth in, and we still have a lot of room. Basically what I have to do now is bring this to a boil, so I turn the heat up to high, and then once it starts boiling, I kick the heat back to low, cover it, and then let it cook for about 50 minutes. Here's where I'm gonna add in the hot sauce. This is very hot. This is, I don't know, spicy. So I'll have some hot sauce. It's very hot, so only a drop or two. Only a drop or two. Yeah, that's a little much. So we'll see how that works. Hello. So it's been about 45 minutes. I wound up adding the rest of the stock, so it is a full 8 cups, and then I had to add some water as well because it really was starting to cook on the bottom. The water had evaporated, so I added some water. I'm giving this maybe another 10 more minutes. In the meantime, my kidney beans back here are cooking. I'm just gonna heat them up until the water starts to boil, then I'm gonna turn it off and strain them. And then here I have a thing of oil heating up, and I'm going to cook my vegan sausage. So you need a lot of oil for vegan and fake meats just because they don't have natural fats. And I'm doing it in batches because I'm going to freeze a lot of the rice and beans, and then whenever I want to cook a meal, just heat up some more of the fake meat so it doesn't have to get frozen over and over. So I will be back once that's sauteed and this is all coming together. Hello. I put the kidney beans into here after I strained them after they finished heating up. I browned the sausage and I cut up some scallions, so I'm gonna put this together and that'll be it. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Doesn't look all that great, but I'm excited to eat. Thank you for watching. Sorry if it was very long. I don't know how much I'm gonna edit out. Thank you.